Anyway, I was ready to give it a go. I met my partners in my record company to discuss it. Well, the discussion basically consisted of me saying, starting an airline is not too big a risk. If people don't like it, we can always hand the plane back at the end of the first year, and it'll be fun. And whenever I say the fun word, they always groan, and I can assure you they groaned. But they then pulled themselves together, they shook their heads and said, guess we'd better pick up the telephones and start selling some tickets then. And I decided to call the airline Virgin Atlantic. And I truly felt it was important to bring the Virgin values to a monopolistic industry when we started Virgin Atlantic in 1984. I found myself facing a barrage of criticism. Marketing and financial journalists couldn't understand what a music entrepreneur was doing trying to run an airline. And even the New York Times asked who would ever fly on an airline called Virgin. In fact, one paper even called us nuts, and I suspect we probably were. Anyway, if you look through the archives of my escapades, something like that. Escapades, thank you. I have to ask a South American crowd how to pronounce English, but thank you, escapades. Over the years, it's difficult to imagine that I once far preferred to be the guy on the phone negotiating deals, convincing famous people that they really did want to be interviewed by a student magazine. And now I'm the person out there jumping off buildings, attempting to break world records in balloons, boats, cars that drive on water. But basically, being the spokesperson, Virgin is by its very nature a company that has a lot of startup businesses. As such, they have no marketing budgets in comparison to their larger competitors. At the urging of the late Sir Freddie Laker, who had made an art form of grabbing the limelight for his airline, I quickly became a victim for all kinds of wild and crazy adventures. Some might categorize some of them as stunts in order to promote the fledgling Virgin Atlantic. You can't buy a quarter-page ad on the front of the New York Times, but when my sinking boat or crashing balloons just happened to feature the distinctive Virgin logo, there we were. And I had to learn to swallow my shyness. Now, whether that was courage or madness, I don't know. We've never quite worked it out. Well, in tandem with my dressing up in the name of the brand, we started to run some funny, pretty direct, and usually highly topical advertisements to grab the dubious public's attention. Such in-your-face ads were unknown in the stodgy world of airlines, so quickly served to gain us some notoriety, press coverage, and above all, a lot of visibility. The humor stood out against our moribund competitors, and soon Virgin Atlantic, rather than just the ads, became synonymous with a cheeky and upstart character, and above all else, a fresh, different approach to commercial aviation. The marketing teams in London and New York would frequently react quickly to the day's news, and within 24 hours place tactical response adverts in our key markets. For instance, the day after John Sununu, a US senator, using public money for a limousine to take him on personal trips, we ran a one-off ad saying, if only he'd booked Virgin Atlantic, he could have got the limo for free. And sometimes close to the bone, especially when tweaking the tail of our favorite adversaries, British Airways, always irreverent and cheeky, the adverts gave the airline a real sense of personality in its early years. This was so important to its success and growth. And one of my personal favorites is very recent, when British Airways sponsored the famous London Eye for millions and millions of pounds. They were faced with some very embarrassing technical issues. And our team jumped into action to much hilarity and global press coverage. They just couldn't get the wheel up. A picture paints 1,000 words. It's funny how that translates into South American. Anyway, but let's not deny that a little sex appeal still goes a long way too. And Virgin Atlantic is still living the dream 25 years on.
God is strong, God is
Thank you. Well, it took several years of dogged determination, courage, and an attempt by British Airways to put us out of business to make Virgin Atlantic a financial success. But Virgin Atlantic's acceptance by both European and American travelers, who didn't seem to mind that the same company that had just signed the Rolling Stones, spurred all of us on to start breaking the rules in a few other areas. We wanted to see if this branded venture capital model really could take off. And over the years, we launched Virgin Radio, Virgin Money, Virgin Trains, and anyway, quite a number of other companies. And every time we entered a different market sector, the same questions were asked. The financial journalists wanted to know when my balloon was going to burst. The marketing ones kept speculating that what we was doing was impossible and that we would stretch the delicate Virgin brand too far. Well, we took a very head-on approach to these critics. We didn't ignore them, but we listened to them and then rebutted them on all fronts by continuing the steady growth of the business. Simply put, we didn't tell them they were wrong, we showed them they were wrong, and we did it with a sense of humor. And the sense of humor and riskiness has infused many of our other businesses. Virgin Mobile Canada produced a series of memorable adverts using famous people and poked fun at them. You can remember Elliot Spitzer, the former governor of New York. He just resigned over a sex scandal where he was client number 9. Well, our adverts ran that week showing a picture of him with a thought bubble proclaiming, "I'm tired of being treated like a number." Another ad in this series shows Hillary Clinton with a thought bubble. Hang on, you spoiled my punchline saying, "I wish my bill wasn't so out of control." These ads only ran for a short time, but were picked up in the media, and importantly, they raised the profile of the company and the service. And I'm sure they're going to show one or two more. Anyway, I hope I've shown how by being courageous enough to challenge the normal rules of business has played a massive role in Virgin becoming one of the world's most recognizable brands. But humor is worth nothing if your staff and your customers are having a terrible experience when interacting with your brand. At Virgin, we believe we owe it to future generations to leave the world in a better state than how we found it. We recognize that the public genuinely care about how the companies in which they choose to invest their trust, their loyalty, and their money, how they behave in the marketplace. And for many companies out there, it's worth remembering this. It shouldn't be all about the bottom line. You've got to stick your neck out and truly understand what your customers want, and then you must act on it.